Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks up a block at the 5, at the 2, at the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Detroit Koolaid, what is going on, everybody? We are back, and I got the king of the Detroit Koolaid Cast, the one and only Grifka is back in the building. Grifka, this is going to be a heated show. I've been looking forward to it for a while. Glad to have you back, buddy.
It's nice to be back. Thank you.
I'm kind of glad to have you back. I mean, we'll see how this podcast turns out. Where I hope you have your boxing gloves ready, because I think we're going to have some interesting back and forth that the people will enjoy. Going to pour out some of that Detroit Kool-Aid and talk about all types of stuff today. So, Grifka, we are going to skip news and notes. The Lions have kind of just started OTAs. You know, Matt Pat's been at the podium a couple times. We're going to skip that. We'll get to that next week when everything's kind of done. We'll be able to recap it. But today, Grifka, we've got to have a big debate about Calvin Johnson. We're going to talk about him, all the things he said, his stance, how the team feels about it, how a player would feel in this situation. We're going to talk all about that, and then I also want to get to the holdouts. We've got Darius Slay and Big Snacks Harrison are not at the mandatory OTAs. So what I thought I'd do today is we're going to talk about both those topics, but I thought we could both take a side. So knowing you the way I do and knowing the show the way I know it, I think it's best if I take the very, intellectual side, the side that looks at all the different factors, good head on his shoulders, all that type of stuff, figure that out. So I'll take like the GM side, because you know that I'm a superior GM and football mind to you, as well as like the team. I think about the team and all the things that go into it, not just, he's a good football player. So I'll take that side. I thought I'd give you the player/fan side. So you can talk about what fans think. You can talk about what the player would be considering, all that type of stuff. I mean, did I hit that on the head, or what do you think?
Well, wouldn't there be like especially with the fan side, wouldn't there be two sides of the same coin once again?
What do you mean?
I mean, we can start. Go ahead, and we'll just go into it at that point. So.
No, I want to flush that out. I got no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean?
There's plenty of fans that feel the same way about Calvin Johnson that you do, and then there's plenty of fans that are, feel the other way. I mean, so to say, like, just the fans' point of view, not all of them are all in the same boat.
Grifka, you're killing our gimmick here, what we're going for. So I'm going to explain the ins and outs of the financials, the why the coach might think, what the GM would think, and you're going to talk about what the player is thinking, and then maybe give why a fan would be on his side. I mean, you can give why they might be against it, but I'm sure I'll cover that and plenty more when I tear this up for 30 minutes. So, they could be on both sides, but, they're not on the team side, which is what I'm doing.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. Let's do this. Are you going to bring the heat, or are you going to sleep through this podcast? Because I'm about to light you up from a Bob Quinn, Matt Pat perspective, you with your 81 jersey on over there. Are you ready to do this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know. We all know where this stems from with you, but that's fine. We can do this. Let's go.
Okay, well, with that being said, I know I could light you up right now, but I think I'll just defer to you. Calvin Johnson, this player that's been retired for I don't know how long, popping off again, saying X, Y, and Z. Like, Grifka, what do you have to say for your boy, number 81, former wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, Calvin Johnson? What he said, why he said it again, and why you love Dave Burkett. Go ahead.
I mean, okay, me as the fan on Calvin's side, this will be my take. I mean, yeah, he retired in the middle of his contract, and the company known as the Detroit Lions were like, okay, you didn't play out your full amount. We want your signing bonus. Give it back, which they're more than willing to do. They can do that, but Calvin was like one of the main cogs of this team for like the longest time. I had another friend that always gave me grief because I would complain about, other, Eric Ebron, dropping passes, and Reggie Bush not doing what, he got paid for when he got here. He did for 1 year, but then after that, he really fell off. And he started pulling up stats like you always do. You go right to Google stats, and he's like, yeah, but he has this many drops for this many attempts. I go, you're right. But Calvin Johnson, he's the big play guy. Name another guy on this team that's going to go up, between three defenders and pull down a pass. Who's the guy they're looking for all the time at the big key spots? Who's the guy that's, getting the high pass and getting his ribs taken out on all his plays? So yeah, he saw this team not going where he thought it would go, and he just kind of got tired of football, much like Barry Sanders, and he retired. And so they're like, hey, give us our money back. We don't owe you anything. Give us your money back. And for the longest time, it was like him and Stafford were the only guys on this team. So should he get his money back? I mean, I don't care either way. But it's one of those things like, if he wants his money back, whatever. It's like he can want it. Go ahead. I mean, is it really costing the Lions a lot? Is it going to bankrupt the team? Are they going to have to raise ticket prices to pay for this? No. So who gives a crap? It's just a big, swinging match. You know what I mean?
Oh my God! For the lawyer for Calvin Johnson in this scenario, or the guy that's backing his side, is that really all you got, Grifka? I mean, I don't know that you did your boy a service there.
Well, I mean, you're going to give me the Bob Quinn Matt Pat thing, which makes no sense considering Matt Pat wasn't even his coach ever while he was here. And then maybe I can't remember. Was he still here when Bob Quinn was here? So to say from their point of view is just doesn't make any sense to me. Your point of view, if you're going to bag on him, has to be strictly from the owner's point of view, just taking his money. That's all it is. Because the new head coach, the new GM, they had nothing to do with this. I highly doubt Matt Pat was sitting there going, hey, yeah, we just take his money back. He didn't play. Just take his money back. I mean, Matt Pat's going to be like, we're going to work with the guys here. So your point of view of bagging on Calvin Johnson strictly has to be from your girl driving around in her golf cart that looks like a Ford Mustang, wearing her bulletproof sunglasses and her big Kentucky Derby hat. Okay? That's what it has to be right there. It can't be the new coach. It can't be the new GM. It's not affecting it's not affecting that salary cap.
Here we go.
So, there. Go ahead. No, bag on your boy because he didn't sign your football. Okay. Same reason. Same people that complain about Barry Sanders retiring. Whatever. Go ahead. That's got to be your point of view. So go ahead and play the GM and how this helped the team. And it doesn't matter. Like I said, it's not going to bankrupt the team. It doesn't matter. He wants his money. Give him his stupid money back. If you want him back in the fold that bad, if you want him around, if you want him walking on the sideline on Monday Night Football, if you want him waving his hand with all the other legends of Detroit, fine, do it. Just give him his money. I mean, big deal.
Okay, you said I can go now about 6 times. Can I go now?
Yeah, but go ahead. But you can't just include all these people that weren't around. It's like,
can I go now?
Well, let's get T.J. Hawkinson's point of view on this. Who gives a crap? He didn't even play with them. So it doesn't matter. You can't bring in Matt Pat or Bob Quinn because they weren't here. That is just a stupid point of view.
Can I talk?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to stay calm here for the beginning until I really get rolling, and I'm going to just probably just end up ripping you to shreds. So let me educate you first of all. First of all, when I said I'm going to be Matt, Pat, and Bob Quinn, I clearly stated I'm going to take the team side and explain that. Again, this is the exercise, Grifka. I'm taking the team side. You're taking the players / maybe fan side of why they would support such comments and such a move. That's the game we're playing. It's not ultimately personal. So I said the team, and yes, Bob Quinn, I don't know if you realize this, but he had just come on as GM. One of his first things he had to deal with was he barely got the job, and Calvin Johnson decided to let him know X amount of days after that. Oh, hey, welcome. Glad you're the GM. Oh, hey, I'm quitting on the team. So that was basically the first thing that Bob Quinn ever had to deal with here. What do you think Bob Quinn said?
See you later.
Can I talk? So
don't let the door hit you on the way out. He never had to deal with him. Still my point of view. If he was around for 3 days, it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, when the supposedly one of the greatest receivers of all time and one of the biggest players on your team up and quits on you with barely no notice, just in the, 30-some years old, just, hey, I'm done. Bob Quinn, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to figure out how to not only replace you, but, hey, last time I checked, he made about 20-some million bucks a year for multiple years before that and after that. Okay, how are we going to deal with the contract? So that's definitely part of the scenario. Is Matt Pat here? No. But who was here? Your boy, Jim Caldwell, who was like, oh, man, I just loved my coach so much. It's so hard for me to quit. So Bob Quinn is having to deal with Coach Caldwell, who's like buddy with Calvin Johnson. So Calvin's quitting. The coach is like probably all put out because he knows, okay, I'm friends with this guy, and he's like supposedly one of our better players, even though he never practices and really hadn't done much in the last couple years. My hands are beat up, whatever it is. So Bob Quinn is probably sitting there going, all right, like, I'm looking at my cap, like, everybody knows you don't win with like a, $25 million cap hit on a aging wide receiver. So part of him is probably happy, but of course he takes the stance of, okay, you want to walk away? Like, we'll work that out. Let's go ahead and get Jimmy Caldwell in here. And hey, by the way, let's get Rod Wood in here. And he started the process. So when he starts the process, Rod Wood comes in, who's been on the job, maybe a couple days, couple weeks, whatever it was too. He comes in, and I listened to a whole podcast from Matt Derry of Lockdown where he ragged on Rod Wood of how he needs to personally apologize because the rumor and innuendo is that he said straight up to Calvin Johnson right after he said that, hey, did you earn all your bonus? Now, one, I don't know if that's like word for word. I think that's probably coming from Dave Burkett's pen where Calvin told him that, so it must be gospel. So, Rod Wood might not have handled it that well. You want to know why? Because he's been managing the money of the bulletproof sunglasses his whole life and had no clue what he was doing as a team president. So, and he has to deal with this his first week. So he's dealing with that. So these guys are trying to figure out cap ramifications. We're losing one of our best players because he quit on us and dealing with all that. So to ask for not only some of the money back, but to say, hey, let's figure out the money, that's an issue, I'm totally fine with, because the guy quit. He up and quit. Barry waited before training camp and left. At least he did it sort of somewhat soon after the year. But if you don't recall, there was all that stuff right after the game. Oh, it's looking like he might quit. Why was he walking around the stadium? Why was he hanging out with Stafford? If you remember, it was weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks after that. He drug his feet and didn't say anything, and then all of a sudden he quit. Which then we went and snagged Marvin Jones. Thank goodness, he was kind of like the best receiver on the board. He was still available. Bob Quinn stepped up and paid him. So getting back to the matter at hand about, you didn't even hit the quote. We might as well hit the quote and before I send it back to you. Calvin Johnson, they know what they need to do. Give me my money back, and then they can have me back. Like, my whole thing is the team, the Detroit Lions team, gave Calvin Johnson over $100 million while he was here. They paid him handsomely in the beginning of his career. He was a force. Did they use him right? I don't think so. Did he put up some stats and numbers? Sure. Did he help us really get to any playoff wins or win any real big games? No, and so did none of the other Lions that have kind of been here the last, 2 decades while we've been trying to get back over the hump or get back to playing good football. But to ask for some of the money back that he really didn't earn when you quit, I don't think was the worst thing in the world. Secondly, it ends up being maybe $1 to $3 million is what's reported. I mean, oh my gosh, that'd be like me handing you $10 because you need it back, and then years down the line, me being pissed because you didn't give me, 10 cents change, or a penny change is more like it. I mean, who cries over that spilled milk and goes and wears Raiders shirts and does X, Y, and Z to sort of be all petty about it? I mean, how many years has he been gone? 4 years? We're still dealing with this? I mean, okay, here's your $2 million back. Maybe will you just shut the hell up is probably what the team is saying. Like, it's just getting to this point where it's like, how many years we got to go over this? I mean, I'm almost ready as a team to say, hey, can we just pay this guy so he'll be quiet, and then also like not show up to our events, because every time he shows up, we got to deal with this kind of talk. So it's got out of hand in my opinion. I don't think it was handled perfectly by Rod Wood. I think Bob Quinn did pretty good by not only handling it, but being able to sub in another guy and resort our cap, all that type of stuff. But for the team to somewhat have to deal with the financials, ask for a little back, try to figure all that out, I don't think is a cardinal sin. How they went about it, maybe not perfect, but to be, going over and over about spilled milk, about this little amount of money. I mean, yeah, if they said, hey, we need $20 million back, I mean, we got a different issue. But the amount of money and just being so repetitive about this, and before I kick it back to you, Rivka, I'm going to kick it back to you with this. Why every year does Dave Burkett have to go to Calvin Johnson's kids camp to pretend he's like promoting his event and, oh, look, we're so glad you're back? When really all he's trying to do is get the same story again. And Calvin, too, is just – he's got Dave Burkett on a string. Oh, hey, I can get Dave Burkett here. I'll tell him anything, and he'll go spin my story for me. I mean, tell me that's not ridiculous, too. I mean, it's just – the whole thing, I just don't like it. I mean – it should be better on both sides. It's not. I mean, I feel like the Lions, the team, is sort of the one that's going to fix it, not only because they need to or they have the money, but just to put this to bed so I don't ever have to talk about this again.
So you're for giving the money back?
I mean, I just gave you a good amount of content, but yeah, at the end, I almost talked myself into giving it back so I can be done with this. I don't know why Calvin Johnson wants this couple $1 million so bad when he's made hundreds of millions of dollars, and I don't know, he still lives here, yet he kind of has all this animosity with the team. His wife works for the team. Like, I just think it's a stupid situation. So I don't see him fixing it. So almost the Lions have to fix it, because all this guy does is show up once a year, talk to Dave Burkett, and then we got to deal with it again over 2 to 3, even if it's $5 million. Who the hell cares?
Okay. So let's face it. This kind of stems from, like you said, the ineptitude of the franchise. When you said, did he lead them to any playoff wins and any greatness like that? You said no, neither did any of the other players that have been here. But he's like one of those, shining stars that the Lions actually has, that the NFL actually knew was good. Knew he was a great player. The whole league knew. He was one of those guys. Everybody knew he was great. He wasn't Lions good. We're like, yeah, this guy's good, and everybody else like, what are you talking about? This guy's garbage. No, he was great. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. So the Lions have to, it's like they have to get these stars back here. They do, because there's not a whole lot of great ones. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Herman Moore. You know this, but is Herman Moore a Hall of Famer? No, he's not. He's a great Lions player. Nothing more, nothing less. But he's not a Hall of Famer. Calvin Johnson's a Hall of Famer. So the organization needs to bring these guys around. They need to do that. And if Calvin's like, you took my money, you want me back, just give me my money back. You're right, just give it back to him if you want him to come to all those functions. If you want him to come to Legends Day. If you want him to come into the NFL Homecoming Day. Stuff like that. Fine, yeah, pay him his money. If Calvin's like, if he feels wronged by it, and it's like, hey, you want me back? That's what you got to do? Fine. Sometimes that's what you have to do. You just got to hold on. And you have to pay them.
Let me jump in. So, because I didn't hit on this. So there's two sides of the coin. Anytime a player signs a contract and the team cuts them, people will be like, oh, man, like that's just the business of the NFL, or, oh, they did him wrong, right? When really in the contract it's built in that, yeah, there's an opt-out or we can cut you at any point. So, like, when you flip the coin, Calvin Johnson sat down with his representatives, whoever it was, in 2012 or 13, whatever year it was, and signed this mega extension. I'm sure they read all the fine print, all the clauses. In there, it talks about your signing bonus and everything being, some portion of it being able to be taken back based on leaving the game early, quitting, probably injury clauses, whatever it is. So, like, my beef is, like, all these players and people always complain, like, oh, the team did me wrong, this, that, and the other. Yet he decides to walk away knowing the ramifications. But he's continued to act like, how dare they do this? And like people are like, oh, well, look at the Cowboys. They've just paid Tony Romo X amount. As you've said on previous shows, that's Jerry Jones. He's not the barometer, right? And so I think the biggest thing that's come out of all this is, like, when Calvin Johnson was early in his career, I was the guy screaming at the mountaintops, like, if you took a receiver, a number 2 overall, whatever, why are we not chucking it up to him? Why are we not using this guy? He's a physical freak. That's what I kept saying over and over again. But towards the end of his career, he started to tail off and he was paid ridiculously. But I think he's not doing himself any favors on the back end of, like, acknowledging the fact that I quit. I walked away from the game. Okay, you were injured. You knew that too when you signed up to play football. Hey, that happens, nothing new there. You walked away. Why you would walk away and not feel like, hey, I kind of left, not right before camp, but pretty suddenly. Why you would think that not only would you not be accountable for returning some of the money, but also just being like, knowing that's part of the gig, I don't understand. And I think the guy's just done himself no favors of, like, showing any type of humble remorse just because the team, which they were obligated to do, looked at the contract and said, well, like, we're able to get X amount back to help our cap and also to live up to whatever this contract was that they signed. I just don't see anything, like, physically wrong with the nuts and bolts of it. I just hate that, okay, now there is this quote-unquote, I don't know that, at the end of the day, that this helps his Hall of Fame case with some of this. It's not like leaving the game way early, but doing this kind of garbage. So it's like, I feel like the team is just sitting there going, we did what we were contracted to do. Like, you didn't end it well with us really either, on probably lots of levels. And now they both need to sort of just hash it out. I mean, I would think the Lions are coming towards the middle of saying, like, we didn't handle things properly, but hey, can we get you to come our way a little bit? Because you did kind of leave our team and you've been talking junk about us and wearing Raiders gear and going to wherever other teams you went. Like, none of that's talked about. So I think if you're going to do it justice, both sides need to be discussed, be honest with it, and, like, figure out what needs to get done to fix it. And I feel like even if they give him the money back, does Calvin come back to all these functions and everything's forgotten? Or are there always these odd feelings now, regardless of what's done? Because I feel like we're so far down the road now, it's not going to be, hey, here's $2 million. Oh, we're good. Like, whenever you need me, call me. I'll be there. I think it's still going to be frosty regardless from Calvin's side.
I agree with you on that. The frostiness. It's got to be. It's going to have to be like one of those Barry Sanders things. And I know I still hear people complain that Barry Sanders quit and never liked the guy going. He quit. And there's going to be people that way, obviously, with Calvin Johnson. But I think as time goes on, that's going to wane. More people are just going to be like, yeah, he was great. And they're just going to remember the good times is what they'll remember. But so I think that will wane over time and more people will come into the fold. But you're right. I think it's one of those things like if tomorrow they were going to send him a check and say, like, here's your cash back. Oh, yeah, by the way, November 10th is a homecoming day where we get all the grades. You're going to be there, right? Yeah, I highly doubt if, it'd probably be 50-50 in the stands of people cheering him and booing him. So,
and I think it would be, like, low on Calvin's priority list. Like, maybe if he's got nothing else going on, like, I'll see what I can do, but I don't think he's going to be oh, absolutely. What time you need me there? Like, I'm ready to go. It'd kind of be this odd, he just created that odd cloud. And like you say, had he left in a little different way, this money would have been the issue. Like, I think he's a top 8 to 10 Detroit athlete, but I think this has really clouded things and just made a mess of it. And I think the Lions are sitting there going, like, we didn't force him out. We didn't tell him to quit. Like, we were happy sort of because he was aging and we were able to use that money other ways to try to win football games and put a better team on the field. But they didn't want to see him go. He made that choice. And yeah, he sacrificed all that salary to do so. But, the salary he gave up is what, probably at least in the 15 to 20-ish millions of actual dollars every year. So he gave that up. Yet we're sitting here talking about, $2 to $3 million of a signing bonus that was asked for back for years now.
Yeah, that's the signing bonus. That's just probably principle is all it is. I mean, like you said, the Cowboys did it for Tony Romo, and I think, if I remember correctly, like when Marshawn Lynch retired from Seattle, they didn't ask for that portion of the signing bonus back either. So I don't know if Calvin Johnson was playing off that, saying it hasn't happened before. They're just going to let me keep it. I'm giving up, 15 mil. What are they going to do with 2 million? But you're right. Then.
So hold on. Let me speak to that real quickly, and then we'll move on to the holdouts here in a minute. So if the Lions, let's take Calvin out of this. Let's take this situation out. Let's say the Lions tomorrow were going after like a pretty good free agent receiver, and like everybody and their brother knew this guy had other offers to make $10 million over a 2 to 3 year contract, right, as a free agent. All these people are bidding for their services, but the Lions come in late in the game and they not only give him, $15 million a year, which everybody knows is way higher than any other offer. They say, we're just going to give him an extra $4 million bonus for no reason. And people will be like, why? You're just giving dollars away. Like, why would you do such a thing? Like, that's not going to fly in public opinion. A team is accountable for basically every dollar, or for every move makes a difference. So had they just said, we think Jim Smith over here deserves an extra $4 million signing bonus on top of the more money we gave him, people would not go for that one bit. But that to me is a similar situation to this, which is people are like, well, why would they ask for it back? Because they wouldn't just hand it out for no reason. They wouldn't give the janitor a $1 million bonus for no reason and then say, oh, we just felt like it. What's the big deal? It's just money. But in this situation, because it's a good player, and like you said, because others have done it, people are like, oh, you should have just forgot about that extra 2, 3, 4, 5 million. Who cares about that? When everybody cares about every cent we give players. And the team does too. Like, the team has funds, but they don't have unlimited funds to just do anything they want. And then you'll end up at the bottom of, every standing every year, and that's not going to fly, that's not what you want. Let's put it that way. The NFL is king. So that's my counter example. If we just handed out an extra $3-4 million to somebody with no rhyme or reason and said, it's just money, nobody cares. It impacts the cap, but no big deal. We'll just deal with it. You'd be like, what are you doing that for? But in this situation, there's no what are you doing that for? Or what's the rhyme or reason? It's just like you should have just gave it and forgot about it.
Yeah, but to get him to come back to anything, the Lions are just going to have to – they're just going to have to bend over and kind of take it and give it to him. That's what they're going to have to do. And I think there'll be a point where there's plenty of fans are going to be like, when are you going to bring Calvin back? When are you going to bring Calvin back? And it may – like I said, over time, I think more people are going to fall to that side of like, hey, we'd like to see this guy. He's great. He's a Hall of Famer. You don't want him, you don't want him doing his Hall of Fame speech, having like this ill will, this ill will towards the team. Because I'm sure like he's going to have enough class not to bash the Lions at his thing, because guys just don't do that. But it's like, you can say something, but it says a lot more when you don't say something. You understand what I'm saying with that?
And let's end it on this. That's where I want to get to. So, like, I've taken the team or the kind of organization side. You've explained, what he's feeling. Like, what I want to have happen is at the end of the day, like you say, I feel like the Lions, too, they have no choice but to, again, we don't know what happened behind the scenes. Maybe they were absolutely rude to the guy. If so, yeah, they need to not only kind of make it right and apologize, but you can financially make it right. But we also need the player too, who's been pretty steadfast of, his side and not really, doing anything on the other end. So like if one side comes, I need the other side to come to the middle and say like, hey, I appreciate the organization for making this right. I'm sorry we had to sort of go through what we went through, but I'm real excited to be back in the family and I'm Lions forever. I would need that too on the back end, not only as the team side of things, but kind of as that other side of the fans, like you say, to sort of say, all right, like both came together and now we can move forward, because like you said, there were really hard feelings with Barry, and now because a lot of time passed and because the team sort of brought him in the fold and probably paid him pretty decently to show up to a few events a year, like I don't feel like there's that weirdness. But I don't know that Barry too, you'd have to talk to this if he ever really, after he got it right, did he ever sort of come out and say like anything on his side, hey, I'm sorry how it ended, or like I'm glad both sides maybe made some mistakes? I kind of would like that, and I like that in life where both can say, hey, maybe neither of us handled this perfectly, but we're able to come back together X amount of years later and fix it. That's what I want, I guess. But it's been a rough road, there's no doubt, and I'm sure the Lions have not wanted it to go this way. And Calvin probably pretty surprised, but I mean, it's been rough for fans. So I thought we had to battle it out and talk about it today, no doubt.
And just to answer your question about Burkett, I just think that's just going to the well. There's a point you expect it every year. It's just like, yeah, here it is again. But yeah, it's just, you're right. Cut it out. It's just, yeah, we know what he's going to say. I mean, nothing's been resolved. We know what's happening. You might as well just find your story from the year before and just change the date on it and change a couple of words from the to the and say it's a new article when it's exactly the same thing.
Right. And the reason I brought that part up is like, I feel like there's not a unbiased side in this. It's been Calvin versus the team and his mouthpiece, Dave Burkett, versus the Lions, basically. Like, I'd like a third party in there that could listen to both sides and really figure out, what went wrong here? What really happened? Because I really have only heard basically the one side of things. And there's always two sides to every story, and usually multiple people that kind of are wrong, or maybe one person heard something wrong or felt it was said wrong when it really wasn't meant that way. I think there's a lot of that goes into this story as well. So I agree with you. Like, let's put this to bed, Dave Burkett. Let's like have these two sides get together, figure it out. And then let's also both be men about it and acknowledge that we both probably messed up, but, can get it right, not only for the fans, the city, but, just so we can move past this too. This is the last thing we really need to be talking about, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean,
so
I think it would only help the fans and the fan base. And like you said, probably a little bit of time to heal the wound, but that's, I think more people are going to remember his greatness more so than him walking away. There's always going to be those steadfast people who will be like, I'll hate him forever, he quit. It happens with Barry, and you go back and watch Barry highlights, it's just like jaw-dropping, and you miss him on the field.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. You're not going to change all the people or the fans, but, I mean, you can definitely get the two main principles can get it sorted out, and then people are always going to have their opinion, no question. So, speaking of their own opinion, Grifka, let's spend a little bit of time here towards the end of the show. This will be our final topic. We've mentioned it on previous podcasts, but let's talk about, it's official now. Snacks and Big Play are not at mandatory minicamp. They're being fined. They're not been there when they're required to be there. Let's do the same thing. I'll take the team side. You can have the player view of this. We'll talk about it in shorter form here, but definitely want to give the people two different views on it. So I'll start this one off. I mean, if I'm the team on this one, like, I'm doing sort of what Matt, Pat, and Bob Quinn have done, which is like this time in the off season, NFL teams are real good at kind of saying nothing, everything's fine. Like, we've been in constant contact with them. This isn't something new. We've seen this before. All those type of non-answer cliches, because you don't want to really turn the heat up and frustrate these guys even more. And you need time to sort of work through this. So I think they're doing fine there. I think the team is also saying what I want to say Pittsburgh and a few other teams, they have a really hard stance on, we will not, renegotiate with you unless you have a year or less left. It's hard principle. Now, I don't think the Lions have that, but I also think it's not common practice for most NFL teams to just, anytime you want to raise, they'll let's sit down and chat about it. It's your boy Jim Caldwell. It's a meritocracy. You earn what you get type of thing. So most NFL teams, if you're balling out and you're doing incredible, and you're young and you got a lot of upside, that's when they want to sit down and get you locked up long term. But also, once we do that deal, we don't want you coming back a year or two later and saying, well, because these other guys got raises, I want to redo my deal. And I think that's what's happening here. I think that Slay got taken care of a few years ago. He went from like rookie money up to 12, 13, 14 plus $1 million on the cap. And just because, the inflation, everything goes up after every contract, he's looking at these other corners going, man, I need a new deal with 2 years left. I think that's just part of the business. I wouldn't mind it if he came in here a little disgruntled, had a great year, and then next year said, hey, I balled out. I was a Pro Bowler again. Like, let's sit down at the table and extend me, or you're not going to have me. Like, that would be more understandable. But 2 years, from a team perspective, I think is a tough sell from him, as well as puts them in a tough spot. And they brought in Snacks on a trade, so he was what he was as far as the contract. Balled out, played really great. He's a cornerstone of our defense, no question. But I think they would take a similar stance with him of just saying, like, Big Felt, we want you. I guess I could see Snacks because he wasn't here. They didn't take care of him already. You know what I mean? It's a little different scenario. So to me, if anybody deserves a little bump or a little taken care of, it's more Snacks than Slay. But then hey, why'd you take care of Snacks and not me type of thing. So I think the Lions as a team need to sort of ride it out, not ruffle any feathers, see what they can work out. And they do have money. It's not like they're right up against the cap. So if push comes to shove, I think they'll take care of these guys. But I think in the meantime, you have to sort of try to get them to understand that we can't redo deals every year. We don't have limitless funds, as we just discussed. So that's where I'm at as a team. I mean, where are you at from the player side? I know Slay's your boy, and we both love what Snacks does for our defense. So talk to me about that.
Like I said, I'll start with Snacks because you're right. He hasn't been here all that long, and he really did. He did very well when he was here, and it was one of those things where I don't know, when mentally he was like, hey, if I show these guys, I'm going to ball out for them. I'm going to ask for more cash because you're right. He's getting a little long in the tooth. He's getting near the end of his contract, so maybe he's looking for just like one more payday, and something. Maybe he's looking for 3-4 years. And that's what he's looking for. It's like, hey, I can ball out for this. My position doesn't really require me to, get to the quarterback, chase down guys from behind. I'm a space eater. So you pay me that cash, I'll do that for you. And, so maybe that's what he's looking for. So I can see that point of view out of him. I really can. It's like, hey, I'm a big space eater. You pay me. I'm going to do this. Look what I did for you in half a season. Just think you got me for a whole season. I'm going to be that guy you want me to do. That's what you want me to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to do it. I balled out for you guys for half a year. Take care of me. I'm going to do that for you for 3-4 years. So yeah, I can see that point of view. That's what I would think he is thinking right there. And I don't think it's going to be one of those things. If he was to get a bump, he's going to want more guaranteed cash in it. More so, I'm not saying obviously not the whole thing guaranteed. I mean, he's not Kirk Cousins for crying out loud. But it's one of those things where here's X amount of dollars and only 1% of it's guaranteed. He's not going to sign that either. But it's got to be. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's one of those contracts. If he does get it, he's going to want something where a lot of it is guaranteed. So I can see his point of view on that. Now with Slay, he's I'm a Pro Bowler, I'm Premier, I'm the only lockdown guy, and right here I've been thinking about this, man. When he was going through it, and this just came to my head, man. Remember ODB? Not Odell Beckham, but ODB, the singer?
Yep.
Remember his song?
Yep.
I would really like to hear Martha saying, hey, big play. Baby, I got your money. Don't you worry. Big play. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Oh man, that is a moment on the show, Grifka. Not only did you bring it up and you did know the lyrics, but in my opinion, I don't know what the Kool-Aid drinkers think, you absolutely nailed that chorus. That was awesome. He get a good Grifka bell for that.
If Big Pay wants his money, you give him his money. See, that was in there too. But if Dirty wants his money, just give him. If Big Pay wants his money, just give him his money. So yeah, that's what he's got to be thinking.
Incredible.
He's going to go out and ball out. He's been doing it, with some lackluster teams, but still, I mean, he's Pro Bowler. He's got to realize there's nothing really on the other side. I mean, I know Tease has been showing out in OTAs, but let's be smart here. I mean, he's got to realize he's really the only lockdown cornerback on this team. So he's thinking, pay me now, man. I'm going to be your guy. And we've talked about this. I don't think Slay would be one of those guys if he got paid where his game would slough off. And, we've seen it before with players like this guy, not just with the Lions, with other teams, guys get paid. And we're like, what the hell happened to their game? It's just like, well, I got paid. I don't think Slay is that type of guy. So that's what he's got to be thinking there as well. It's just like, pay me, man. I'm the only real, lockdown cornerback on this team. Your whole other side, you guys are struggling. You're bringing in guys hoping it works out, but I'm your guy. Pay me. So I think I have to go with that.
Grifka, normally.
That's the time I'm going to sing on the show, by the way. So you better put that on a Jim Rome loop somewhere. So.
Oh no, that's coming back up on future shows. But normally I'd come back at you. We battle it out. We go back and forth. We're not going to top the Grifka singing the chorus for "Give Me That Money" or whatever the title was. That was incredible. There's nothing more to be said. Let's freaking shut the show down, man. That was tremendous.
Okay.
So, Grifka, there's only one other thing that does need to be said, though. And let me think. It's something we usually say it on most shows, kind of how we end it. It goes something like this. Grifka, do you have anything else for the people?
Nope.
You don't want to sing a chorus or anything before we get out of here?
No, man, I can't think of any nope lines or anything like that. So.
Oh man! All right, well, we'll go ahead and get out of here, man. I think the people are gonna just eat this show up. We really took both sides, the team, players, some fan side, and really brought some heat and talked all about it. So I think everyone's gonna really enjoy this show, and we enjoyed doing it. We thank you for all the support, as we say every week. At least I do. Grifka, doesn't often thank the people, but that's neither here nor there. We are going to come back on Friday and give you guys another Detroit Koolaid Cast. We'll be talking all things Lions. Looking forward to that. So, everybody, take care. We're going to get up out of here. Have a great day.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in.